Hi, and welcome to the Eczema Podcast, where you'll learn tips, products, and natural eczema remedies from Abby, registered holistic nutritionist and founder of PrimePhysiqueNutrition.com. Here's your host of the Eczema Podcast, Abby.
Hey guys, today I have a great guest for you, and he's been on the show before. You might remember Dr. Jason Lee, who I've had on my videos and on my podcast before several times. He's a naturopath, and he really helped me a lot in my eczema journey to really help me heal. Today we're going to talk about a really popular topic on how do you treat topical steroid withdrawal. Now, Dr. Jason specializes in skin conditions, as he himself had eczema and went through topical steroid withdrawal as well, so he shares a wealth of information. Now, I do want to give you a heads up that we never planned to film this, so this podcast is a lot shorter than usual, but he does give a lot of great information on it. Before we jump into today's podcast, you may or may not know that I run a group coaching program with the Conquer Eczema Academy that I created. This is basically a group coaching program where myself and another coach who went through topical steroid withdrawal offer and help give advice and recommendations and consultations and support and extra guidance to people who really need that extra help. We've had people from all over the world join, from Netherlands to US to Canada to Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, Europe, and it's been so amazing. In our last round, we've seen so many people find healing, and a lot of people have had great healing progress, and so we love doing these calls with people who join the group. It's an 8-week group coaching program, and every week we have live calls and offer support as well. And today, I just wanted to share a great testimony that we've had from the group, just to give you an idea of what the group is like and also how encouraging it can be, because this testimony encouraged me so much. So I hope that it encourages you too, that you can find the support you need to help you on this journey. Here is a testimony from one of our members, Cassie.
I just wanted to say, since this was my first call, I wasn't really sure how it would go or what these calls are typically like, but it has just put me in such an amazing mood, and hearing all of you speak about your experiences has made me so incredibly grateful to have found this group, and I'm really kind of in awe also that all across the world we can still be going through such similar and intimate experiences and can share and learn from each other. And then even, I was already feeling this like halfway through the call. And then I texted my sister, the one that also had eczema, oh, I'm on my first call. It's so awesome. And then she was even like, oh my God, I'm so jealous. Like, where was that when I was going through it? Just thank you, everyone.
And thank you so much, Cassie, for sharing your experience with the group coaching program. It really means so much to us as well. And if you'd like to find out more about our group coaching program with the Conquer Eczema Academy, you can check us out at conquereczemaacademy.com or check it out on my website. And now let's begin the podcast with Dr. Jason. So hi Jason, welcome
Hello.
Back. Thanks for agreeing to be here again.
I'm back again.
It's good to have you.
Yeah.
And people on our YouTube channel obviously love you, and they love watching you, and they love all the tips that you give. So thank you very much for that.
Cool.
So today, a huge topic in the community is topical steroid withdrawal.
Yes.
So yeah, we would love to know, how do you treat topical steroid withdrawal? I know it's a big question, but...
Yeah, it's a very big question because it all depends on the case. The thing is, the intensity of topical steroid withdrawal depends basically on how long the patient's been on steroids. Number one, the strength of the steroid. Number two, and how compromised their system is. So what topical steroid withdrawal basically is the patient has been suppressing with some kind of topical medication to deal with the inflammation on their skin. And when they suppress it long enough, it can actually aggravate things and make things worse for them later on because you're covering the issue. It's almost like if you drop a glass on the ground and it breaks and you throw a rug on top of it, that doesn't make the glass go away. You've covered the glass, you don't see it, but the glass is still there, and as you walk on the rug, it's crushing the glass into the ground even more. And then one day when you get rid of the rug, oh, the glass is still there, and now it's scratched into the floor and stuff like that. So it's kind of like what topical steroid withdrawal is, and I went through a bit of it myself when I was on steroids. I was on steroids for about 12 years, from the age of 1 till about 12, till I saw a naturopath. And when she took me off the steroids, and there was no term for topical steroid withdrawal, I just had a massive aggravation. And she said, you probably will aggravate. And I said, why? She said, because you've been covering your skin with the steroid cream. And I said, I needed to. And she's like, I understand that, but now that we're treating what's causing the issue, you won't need that anymore, but you will aggravate. And I did. I aggravated for probably about a good month and a half. My skin flared up and got even worse, actually. And then it went down and things resolved with the treatments. So, I mean, that's what topical steroid withdrawal is, right? Remember, eczema is not a skin condition. It never is. I mean, there's that saying where if you treat something externally, like the skin, you treat it eternally, meaning forever, because it's not really a skin condition. Eczema is something inside the body, where the body either is intolerant to something you're eating, it can't metabolize certain things, there's certain stressors on the body that's causing the gut to leak. And when the gut leaks, the material leaks out through the body, causing the skin reaction, creating eczema, which is an inflammatory issue on the skin. When you take a steroid, I mean, steroids are fantastic in that they are great at reducing inflammation, right? And what's really interesting about steroids is that the actual compound that it is, like a corticosteroid, is cortisone, is actually a derivative of a stress hormone made in our own body called cortisol. So I find that unique in that they're actually giving you a derivative of a stress hormone to deal with your inflammation, which tells me that you're not producing enough cortisol on your own to deal with the issue you have, which may be a stress sign or a stress result, because it is a stress hormone. But anyway, you're suppressing the skin, so you're keeping it at bay. You put the steroid on, and maybe the skin might clear up. It might move to a different area, which you'll probably suppress with some more steroid. And you keep doing this for years and years and years, or months and months and months, and the skin seems to be better. But the moment you stop it, of course, the issue has never been dealt with. Steroids don't heal or don't fix the issue. It just covers it. So the problem's still there, so it comes back. The problem is that the body's pushing toxicity to the surface of the skin for a reason. So if you block that process, it pushes it deeper into the body. And that's why you'll see patients who've been on steroids for a long time develop more systemic issues, such as allergies or asthma. And that's why they have that allergic triad, which I think I've talked about in some previous videos, of allergies, asthma, and eczema. What often starts off with most patients as eczema, when suppressed heavily with steroids, becomes asthma, and when suppressed with, again, puffer steroids or whatnot, it becomes allergies, like seasonal allergies. And this may go on over a span of 5 to 10 years or a span of a couple years for a patient. So the more suppressed you are, basically, the worse topical steroid withdrawal you're going to have. How do you deal with something like that? It's an excellent question, because again, it all depends on the patient and what their actual issue is and what's causing the eczema. But basically, we try and reduce the steroids slowly. I don't suggest just going right off them altogether, because sometimes for some patients the reactions are so severe it can really throw them off and really cause a lot of issues. Not only just how they feel, but mentally it can really affect people, because they might have been suppressed for 20 years on steroids, and now for the first time they're experiencing how bad their skin actually is. So we try and cut it down bit by bit, while at the same time treating the underlying issues as to why the skin flares up in the first place. And like I said, those can be varied. It all depends on the patient. We have to test to find out what actually is causing the issue, and slowly kind of get this balance where we're suppressing less and less and less, and we're treating more and more and more, and then we come to this balance where things eventually work really well. We can get off the steroid altogether. That's what steroid withdrawal is, basically. You stop the steroid and you're seeing how bad the skin actually is, because the steroid is just covering the issue, right? So
Do you have an example of how you would treat a certain patient, or maybe like a case study of a topical steroid withdrawal patient that you've had, so maybe people have an idea?
I had a kid the other day that came in. She was probably about 12 years old, and was going through a pretty bad rash reaction after stopping steroids, and the parents wanted to stop it right altogether. And I said, I think that could be done, because the child had been on the steroids for probably about 2 years. And initially what started off as spot treatments, so they'd have some flare-ups, they'd use it, and then another flare-up, they'd use it, became eventually continual treatment. where they needed it, and the moment they stopped it, they'd have a flare-up. Through our testing methods, we found out that the patient was intolerant to oils and fats, as well as all grain. So we got them off grains, and we did some work around sensitivity work with oils and fats so they could digest fats a lot better. We used a couple supplements. I mean, the big thing is a good probiotic. And probiotics, I mean, there's so many kinds of probiotics. Not all of them are fantastic for eczema, but we used one that's specific for their case. And we did some other work to heal the gut. And it was actually interesting because this child had great vitality. So what happened in the end was they were off the steroid. They reacted quite horribly for about a month. I had seen them after they'd been off it for a month. So when they came into my office, they did not look particularly good. And then it got really bad. I think after about 1 week of treatment, they were still having these big flare-ups. So I asked the patient to, the mother, to use the steroid topically, just on the spot treatments, on the worst spots. So she used a small amount each time. And then I think she did 4 spot treatments over a span of 2 weeks. And then things got better after that. We basically didn't need them anymore. The flare-ups were still coming, but not nearly as aggressive. And then the skin was just very, very dry near the end. And that's how eczema heals. I mean, the number one thing you want to get down is the inflammation. So the redness and all that has to come down. That angry look has to go away. What ends up being the end product, which we treat near the end, is the skin is just very dry and flaky. And that's actually good. When it's dry and it's flaky, it might still be itchy, but it's not red and angry. That's the best. So getting that down first, and then we deal with it. I mean, that's a more simple case of topical steroid withdrawal. You get some patients that come in that have had it for years and they're reacting heavily. The rule of, I guess you could say, is if a patient's been on the steroid for a year, it could take up to a month of treatment. So, I mean, if the patient's been on steroids for 30 years, it could be 30 months. Now, that doesn't mean, I try and spend 30 months with the patient, but they can really react for a long time. It depends. It totally depends on the case. It depends how well they follow the protocol. It depends on stresses in their life. The more stressed the patient is, the worse it is. Because remember, steroid cream is derived from cortisone, which is basically a derivative of cortisol, which is a stress hormone. So if the patient's highly stressed, they're dumping a lot of cortisol, they're going to burn through that, and they won't be able to deal with inflammation as well. They'll need more cream, and it'll take longer. That's why stress affects skin so heavily. Even though people think stress is not relating to skin at all, when the body's forming, there's 3 major embryological tissues, and I think I touched on this, Abby. The first one is mesoderm, that forms muscle and all the joint tissues and things like that. Then there's endoderm, that forms all the organs like the stomach and the intestine and whatnot. And then there's another tissue called the ectoderm that forms the nervous system, the lungs, and the skin, which is why they're all linked, right? You have asthma, allergies, and eczema, all from the same tissue. So that's a big deal. But that's a few examples. I mean, some can be very, very severe, some can be very, very mild. It all depends.
Thanks for listening to today's episode, and I know it was a shorter podcast than usual, and there is so much more that we could still go into about topical steroid withdrawal, and hopefully we will have a chance to do a follow-up with Dr. Jason one day and learn more about topical steroid withdrawal. Unfortunately, we were a bit limited in time, but there is so much that we can learn, so don't worry, we will be sure to share more information about it on my website, Prime Physique Nutrition. And that's it. I hope you have a great weekend, and I hope to see you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Eczema Podcast, and stay tuned for our next episode. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll pass it along to your friends and colleagues. Visit primephysiquenutrition.com for more articles and tips. Thanks for listening.